Good evening and welcome to episode 45 of Let's Talk Possibility. In tonight's episode, we talk to Cordi van Niekerk, who is a founder member of the CHOC Cows, a group of athletes who raise money for children's cancer charity by riding sporting events every year. Folks, good evening. It is Let's Talk Possibility again. That is the show where we explore what is possible when people just look at the world a little bit differently. And my guest on the show tonight is Cordi van Niekerk, who takes great pride in being called a cow. Cordi, how are you doing?
Hey, Eric. How's it going, man?
Very well, thanks. Now, Cordi, you're a founder member of an organization called the Cows. And for those of you who don't know what the Cows is, in the last 5 years, am I right, Cordi?
That's right.
You guys have raised over 11 million rand.
Yeah, that's right. We crossed 11 million funds raised for CHOC with the events that we've done for the August earlier this year. And we're astounded by how well it's gone over the last 5 years.
So give us a little bit of background. I mean, 5 years ago, a group of 7 people got together and decided to ride the 94.7 cycle race to raise money for a cause greater than themselves.
Yeah, that's right. The heart started, a friend of mine, Karen Bain, her and I worked together, and Karen's little daughter, Jessica Bain, contracted cancer, and she was at that stage about a year and a half. And we didn't know anything about kids with cancer or what it's like for a family to go through an event where a child contracts cancer. Unfortunately, they lost Jess just at the age of just under 2 years old. And then Karen decided she was going to do something for CHOC to support them. So CHOC supports kids with cancer. They've got the support network. They predominantly create homes for children that's being treated, and then also the parents. They have these homes all over South Africa. So during the process that Karen and Grant went through with Jess, they got a lot of support from CHOC. So she decided she was going to do something for CHOC. And she started harassing us to do something. And, you know, at that stage, it was like, yeah, whatever, talk to me, talk to the hand, not going to happen. And I think the flap of the butterfly's wings for us was one day a guy walked past me and Dave, and he said, you know what, if you're going to do this race in a dog suit or a chicken suit, I think he said, then I'll sort out your fundraising. And I said, deal, done. This is what we'll do.
And so all of a sudden, it went from just riding the race to riding the race dressed up as something.
Yeah, it went from, no, I'm not going to do this race to, okay, let's dress up and do something and try and make money for CHOC. So if you're going to do something like this, you never want to do it alone. So the first thing I did was I called a mate of mine, Alberto, and I said, you know what, we're going to do something, not sure what we'll do, but you're in. He called his brother, Rob, and then suddenly we were 6. And, you know, for us it was, I knew Karen, I knew Alberto, but I didn't really know any of the other guys. Not even Grant, you know, Karen's husband. But yeah, suddenly there was 6 of us that said, let's do something, and that's how we started.
And so a week before the race, you've sorted out some fundraising, and now you're scurrying around Joburg looking for costumes to ride in.
That's right. So at that stage, I was like, all right, we're going to have to dress up as something. I got some people to find out some ideas of what to do. They came back with, I think it was zebras and giraffes and chickens and dogs and you name it. And I was like, okay, we need to at least look similar. Else, we need some identity. And the only reason we turned into cows was that we were able to find 6 suits that were similar, and that was cow suits. So then the cows were started. And so one of the crazy 6 has done some fundraising in the past, and he used to do it on an ice cream bicycle. So just doing a single, just riding a single ice cream bike during 94.7 to raise money. I think at that stage it was for SPCA, and he was in the fold as well. So there were 6 of us, plus an ice cream bike, and then Karen and Grant was also involved in that process. And
so then just going to your own networks, you started asking people to sponsor and give donations for 6 cretins dressed up as cows.
That's right.
To ride the race.
Yeah, and that's right. We initially said, okay, let's just pick a target. And we said, okay, let's start out with 10,000 Rand each. And we said, okay, let's aim to raise 60,000 Rand for this first event. And it was just an event. It was something that we were going to do. And it was tapping into networks, just, harassing people, making them, commit to numbers, if we would be able to finish this race. And ultimately, from a target of 60,000, we were able to raise 230,000. So, I mean, that was, for us coming out of nowhere, it was quite a significant leap forward, And then we said, you know what, this was quite successful for the amount of effort that we put into it. If we're going to do this again, let's try and make it significant. And that's how the second year was born. So we went from 7 of us in year 1, we were able to grow to about 130 people that was then in, let's say, cow print. So some of them were cycling in cow print cycling kit. Some of them were in cow suits, but there was a lot of cows from 7 to 130.
And so in year 2, 130 people, how much money did you raise?
So we then said, again, if we were able to raise 230K in year 1, let's try for $1 million. Okay, let's try and raise R1 million for CHOC in year 2. And then we got to 2.1 million. And that again was a significant leap for us forward. And then we said, okay, there's more legs here. We can try and push this even harder and further. And then we said, okay, year 3, let's do 94.7 again, and this time we're going to go for 3 million. And we ended up on 3.6 million for our third year.
And around how many participants?
We went from 130 to about 260 odd people.
Okay. So you almost doubled it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Cordi, obviously everyone's networks aren't really that big that you can just grow exponentially like that. Why do you think people become involved in the cows?
Sure, I think for many reasons, and I think that's maybe a key part of why we're successful. I think if you've had a child with cancer, or then if you've had a person, a family member going through a journey of cancer, friends, I think you've got a sense of the impact of this disease, and so a lot of people, not only through the focus on kids with cancer, has an appreciation for why we're doing this. But then the other side is it's really important for us to create a journey, an experience for people whilst they are cows. And that for us is really important. So, the experience of being a cow and doing a race as a cow is very different to any kind of event or the way that you would typically approach, an event like 94.7 or Argus or any one of the races. And it's not a race. It's about the journey, and it's about the fun factor of being part of something as big as this. Now, for us, the cherry on the top is the event, so typically we'll do fundraising, and at the end we'll go and have a race, and that's almost a celebration for us. And we all typically start together in a herd for any one of the events that we do, and people are taken aback a little bit when they see a herd of cows of 300 strong, and then they start to realize the impact of this. But it's fun, We said if we're going to do this, we're going to have fun with it. If we don't have fun with it, then it's just another day job, and then it's a night job. That's also not fun, So we're ensuring that the experience for people in it and for us is a fun experience. It's an uplifting experience, and I think that's a key component of why it's been so successful.
Yeah. And it has been so successful that the organizers of the 94.7 cycle race have actually changed the reason for the race to race for a purpose or ride for a purpose. And based on the growth of the cows, that's kind of become contagious to other charities and other events.
No, definitely. I think 2 years ago, we obviously have to have quite a strong relationship with the race organization, the race director, and so on. And 2 years ago, we got contacted by Momentum, and the discussion was started to say, should we become a primary, let's say, charity for this event? But then it evolved into something that said right for a purpose, and because there are so many purposes out there, and they're all great, and it's for us, it's not a competition, if you like, everybody should win out of events like this. And I think, I think a lot of people has had spin-offs out of what the Cows has done, and that's fantastic, So we've created a platform where people can almost learn how to do charity events, have fun, make a difference, and ensure that there's uplift in all these, let's say, communities in South Africa.
Yeah, but and what fascinates me is the fact that the Cows just keeps growing, and it becomes increasingly more popular and more visible and more vocal every year.
Yeah, no, and definitely.
Why do you think that is?
Sure, Eric. There's a couple of factors I think that's important. But I had a question a couple of weeks ago about how many cows are there now, and I have no idea how many cows we have right now. And it's, we started off with 94.7. We've grew it into August. This year was our second year of August. Our first year we had about 60 cows. This year we had just over 200 cows. But it's gone into running, so we've had, some crazy events that people have done with it. So running, cycling, trail running.
People have done Ironman.
Ironman. I mean, we had Keto this year. One of our, he's called an Iron Cow. But I mean, he did the full Ironman this year in a cow suit. That means, he obviously didn't swim in a cow suit, but then he climbed onto his bike and he cycled 180 Ks in a cow suit. Then he did a full marathon in a cow suit. And I mean, those conditions were just horrible this year, and he pulled through it. And I think, so that's the brand of it, and saying it's about the journey, and it's for us, for example, doing 94.7 and having an ice cream bike through it. It's not about time, it's about, if you have somebody that's got cancer, it's a journey you go through, and for us, some of that is what's represented in some of these things that we do,
But, when you speak to most of the cows, and I mean, I've been involved with the cows for, I think, 2 years as a photographer and so on. But
this year you'll ride, right?
I'm hoping to ride, but you keep pulling me in to say, Erica, you're shooting the photograph.
You see, this is how we grow, So now we'll get a little Soviet contract going, and I'll make sure you sign it, and then this year you'll ride it,
And so what amazes me is, in the face of, let's call it competition, other charities also asking people to ride for a purpose.
Yeah.
There's just something that keeps growing the cows organically.
Yeah.
And to me, when we think about, the theme of the show, but let's talk possibility, I'm trying to understand what's possible when a group of strangers can get together, because really all 230 or 300 cows are doing it for their own reason.
Sure.
Not for CHOC's reason, not for your reason, but there's something inside them that gets them to come and join the cows rather than in any of the other charities.
Yeah, it's probably going to be difficult to put my hand on that, but I think some of the things that has been quite successful for us has been about, we take people on a journey of an event, and that means that we've launched, for example, the 94.7 for this year, our Stampede, last week, Thursday. And that was the start of this year's journey for them, and now we'll have monthly events, and we tell people and we assist people in the process of, I think, understanding how to fundraise. Our way of fundraising is probably a little bit different. Firstly, when somebody joins us, we create a fundraising page for them, so they can send out that URL to anybody, and then they can do a donation, and that's through a credit card payment or an EFT, or But then a very important aspect of us is being social, or then conducting a social event, and we've had unbelievable events that people have put up. One of the areas that's doing well for us, for example, is Discovery. For example, is they have an annual golf day now, and I mean, we do a golf day like that. It's a significant amount of money that gets raised, But it's not just about the big ones. We have spinathons. We have ching chong cha tournaments. We have, you call the event, we've had it. And it's about getting people social, getting them involved. Almost educating them around what we're doing, why we're doing it. But then the experience aspect is important. We focus on the importance of what we're doing or the impact that we have on kids with cancer, but we don't dwell on the fact of cancer. We coined our slogan of love living life. So and I think that's a key aspect of it. It's so easy to be unhappy. It's so easy to dig yourself into a hole. A family member does or doesn't do anything, something happens at work and it just becomes a negative spiral, and for us about living, and being in a moment and taking full advantage of what you have, or then just realizing what you have, and a lot of that just says, this is a phenomenal thing to be part of, and then yes, we raise money and it's going to go to specific projects that we select per year. But on the other side, people, they're getting positive, and it's about focusing on the positive versus the negative, So those are some of the aspects I think that's been positive for us.
And I mean, as we're talking, in my mind, I'm sort of putting together the sort of recipe for success. And so I think that the first element in that recipe is to create a phenomenal emotional connection.
Yeah.
Which I think is easy. Actors, a lot of the top Hollywood actors refuse to act with puppies and children.
Yeah.
Because they always steal the show.
Sure.
The second thing, I think, is then to create a framework within which everyone who gets involved with the cows has the freedom to do their own type of fundraising.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we pride ourselves on trust, and we trust people, and we've never decowed anybody, meaning it's not about saying, okay, if you raise this amount of money, or if you don't get to this limit, then this will happen. It's not about that at all. It swings and roundabouts. Some people are going to bring in a lot of money, like Simon Dirty. He's 94.7 started the red jersey. It's a jersey that's been awarded to the individual that raises the most amount of money for the event. Simon has won it the last 2 years, and he's a cow, and we created a red cow suit for him as a result of that. But not everybody is going to work like that. Not everybody can say, I've got the ability to raise 10,000 rand. Some do, some doesn't. But if you're going to have a base of 300 people and they're going to be committed to doing something, you know what? Something's going to happen. And when I get the questions around fundraising, if you have intent and you act, for me, that's most critical. For me, if you have those two things, I think it'll happen. I think people will make the money, or they'll meet their targets that they set themselves. So swings and roundabouts, holistically trusting people. We've had one instance where we had a young couple that students, they really just wanted to have cow kit, and they said, you promised this and that and whatever, and it, the intent wasn't right, and we just said, have the kit and have a nice day, kind of thing, and we're not going to over-engineer anything for the sake of protecting, I think the paradigm, and ours is we trust you. We'll support you. If you need any guidance, then we're here to help you. And we've learned a lot of things. We've made mistakes, but therefore, we can educate you in the process as well. And on top of all of that, you'll have a fantastic experience with us.
And then I think that the third part of that recipe then is as you say, involvement and fun.
Sure. No, definitely. Look, fun has got many definitions. Okay, we've got a guy, Ryan. He's going to be doing an event building up to 94.7. He's going to cycle from Cape Town to Joburg on a BMX. Okay, let me say that again. He's going to cycle
single speed BMX.
BMX, like a standard BMX. He's going to cycle it from Cape Town to Joburg. His last leg is 94.7. So for him, that's fun, right? We had 8 cows that summited Kili, and for them that was fun, and that was their means of raising money. We had Alex Harris, he's represented the cows. He came second this year in the Freedom Challenge. He won it last year, being a cow as well. So a lot of that is about the branding, to say, we're gonna push our limits. We're not gonna. There's no status quo. It's about me, and if I reflect personally, 5 years ago when we started, they literally had to push me to finish the 94.7. And it's, for me personally, it's been almost a transformation, from an event perspective, and from a physical perspective, and all of that is always around. It's going to make you more positive, and it's seeing it half full versus half empty.
If we think a little bit wider, so not just about fundraising or not just about the cows, but what do you think would be possible if people can get together like they do with the cows to start working towards changes in our country, in their communities?
There are no limits, I think. I think for me, if you have intent, we live by what we choose. And if we choose to do it and choose to see it through, I think we can achieve phenomenal things, and there's nothing stronger than will, and I think if you just have a number of people that have a joint, goal, and they have real intent to meet it, based on what we've seen, to raise 11 million rand, for a charity, out of almost nothing, and it's a lot of people that want to make a difference. It's a lot of people that want to be part of something bigger than just saying, I've bought another house, or I've bought another car, or I'm wearing this brand of clothing, So
But so I think then it's that power of community. Whereas it's easy for one person to sit on the couch and moan and complain about the neighborhood and crime and politics in the country, but when you start mobilizing groups of 2, 3, 4 people, and you find a purpose beyond just pleasing, do you think that kind of energy becomes self-perpetuating?
I think so, and a lot of it is to not sweat the small things, I think sometimes, causes and companies, get into an inward focused, context, and it almost becomes, negative in that sense, So I think, don't sweat the small things, move through it, clearly keep a view on the goal, and for us, it's a very explicit goal that we work towards every year, So you can talk about vision and mission and all of that sort of stuff, I think for us, it's about having 2 minutes worth of strategy discussion, and then everything is execution, and I'm not saying therefore don't plan, but okay, we have a fundamental view of planning is for sissies, right? But there's a lot of planning that goes into it, there's a lot of engineering that goes into it, but not on strategy, it's on execution. How do we do it? What's the next step? What do we need to enable something? So I think that pattern is, you can utilize that pattern in any business context.
Yeah, and I think often, particularly if we're thinking communities and that sort of thing, planning seems to get in the way of the doing.
Yes.
We plan things to death.
Yeah.
And then nothing even actually happens.
No, definitely. And I think, I've been taught it always works out an end, and the end is important. The journey sometimes will be, slightly off track, or, you might take a turn this way or that way, but it'll always work out an end. And I think if if that's what's important to you, and the end goal is where you're going to go and take things, even if you end up 2 kilometers from the end, you're probably in the right direction, And you're probably very close to where you want to be. So, yeah.
How scalable do you think is the cow model? I know it's not the business model that makes the cows successful. It's the people who are involved. But, I'm thinking of maybe more abstract charities, rape crisis centers, for example. Do you think they could learn something from the cow model? And do you think people would be as accepting of those kind of charities as they have been to kids with cancer?
I think so. Maybe to reflect on some of the learnings that we've had, and then we can talk about other charities. For us, 94.7 has been the flagship, if you like, or rather, that's where we started, that's where we cut our teeth, and that's where we learned a lot of what we know today. We've taken that learning to events like Argus. We're gonna start doing similar things with Amashova now. We're doing it with running events like Two Oceans now. So I think if you can find a model that works for you as a charity, you need to understand how you can replicate that into other contexts, So for us, that was a winning formula. I think the context, for example, of 94.7, we're probably getting close to the limits of how much money we'll raise on one event, But now, if we go and find another event, you might not double it, but I think you can have a significant step forward if you go and do the next event, And then you can just clone that sort of approach without losing the essence of who you are, because, that's still important. And people, doesn't matter where people are and what event they do, they have to understand the essence and feel it, And to your point, the emotional connection with it, that's what's important, Else, how am I going to change the behavior, or how am I going to motivate the behavior, And for us, that was important. You take people on that journey. You make them connect with the cause, and then it works.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the metaphor that the cows have used as a journey, and as surviving, or living with a kid who has cancer, as that is a journey. I think there is that same journey of recovery.
Sure.
In any kind of charity environment.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the thing with the cows is, I can't get over how much attention others get. People love others for some reason. and to see people in a cow suit, the first thing they'll do is look at others. But I think for a lot of people, being cows.
So you only have female cow suits,
dude? No, we have awesome cow suits in all genders, right? But for us, that's part of it. It's saying if you climb into a cow suit, you're bulletproof. There's nothing that you can't do, because you've already broken that sort of constraint that you normally would live in, if you like, or be in. So now you're in a cow suit with others, and you can do anything. There's no limits for you anymore, if you like,
Yeah.
And I'm finding that switch, if you like, that happens with a lot of people is what works for them. You are and and that also creates an experience that's enjoyable. It's different. And I think a key learning for me in that sense has been that you need to reinvent. You need to build, because being a cow this year, you need to be a cow plus more next year.
Yeah.
And you have to enhance that experience on an annual basis. It's not so. Therefore, it's not like in business. It's not you can't do something this year and if it's successful, expect that you can do the same thing next year and have a similar result. You have a next version of a product. You have a next iteration of an event. And in the context of charities, you have to do the same thing. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to keep it interesting. You have to push people an extra mile to get them out of their boundary.
And I mean, that's exactly, I think, what makes the cow so successful, and what will work in that sort of model for any charity is, and that's that whole concept of comfort zones. I think a lot of people want to contribute to their neighborhoods, to their communities, to their charities, as long as it doesn't create discomfort for themselves.
Exactly.
And to make a meaningful difference, you've got to be prepared to step out of your comfort zone.
Definitely. It's really hard. It doesn't matter what the cause is. It's really hard to keep people in that almost somber state. Nobody wants to be there. You don't want to be in a context of a child with cancer. You want to understand that you're going to make a difference to them, but you also want to have, you want to step out of that. And I think that shift is important. And again, the balance of connecting with the cause, but on the other side also connecting with the means. The means for us is the cow. And the things that the cows does. So yeah, I think that's important.
And also, I want to make sure listeners understand, Cordi, you and the other guys on the cow committee, you all have real jobs as well.
We all have a day job. So sometimes a night job, pushes us extensively. But yeah, we nobody's employed by CHOC. We don't earn anything from what we're doing. We've had up to last year. I mean, we've up to about 8 million that we've raised. 7.5 million. We had no support really. Then we employed one admin person to just enhance this experience for people. And also alleviate some of the press, the strain and the stress for us. Yeah, but there's no massive overhead in terms of admin or any of that sort of stuff. And we pride ourselves on that. And we pride ourselves on the fact that the money that's raised goes to the bottom line. And then I think another challenge that we've had, a growth path, if you like, with people in charity versus business-minded people, and I think some of that I'm hoping that we've brought to CHOC as well, to say we're running the cows like a business. We are not CHOC. We don't go out and support, treat kids with cancer. We enable the treatment of cancer, and as a result of that, we are the channel. They're the people looking after children with cancer. And as a result of that, the focus of almost, the business realities of things is important as well.
Fantastic. Cordi, it's hard to believe, but our show has run its course. It's 30 minutes. I want to thank you so much for coming through. But before you go, where can people get in touch with you? I'm guessing everyone who's listening now is just dying to get into a cow suit and ride 100 Ks around Johannesburg. How can people get in touch with you?
Really simple. You can go to thecows.co.za, our website. So it's just www.thecows.co.za. You can join us on the top left-hand corner of the website. We can really just put in your name, and you can select an event that you want to do with us. And from there, we'll be in touch with you. We'll give you all the information. We have a number of meetings running up to 94.7. All you have to do is register for a race and then enter your details on our website, and then we take it over from there. We reseed people into the right starting batches and so on for events that we do. You can also follow us on Twitter at the CHOC Cows. We keep updates on events and so on there. Or you can contact us through CHOC themselves. But that's probably the easiest way. The cows.co.za, all our information are on there.
Fantastic. Cordi, thanks so much for coming through. And I mean, the passion you have for just continually crossing your own comfort zones, I think has become absolutely clear and abundant this evening.
No, it's a great pleasure, and thanks for the opportunity. And I'll just say this, for me personally, having experienced so many of these stories, it gives me hope in humanity and in people in South Africa. You have people with amazing, beings, and yeah. So if you want to experience some of that, it's about positiveness, it's about building, it's about personal achievement in this as well. Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity, thanks for having us, and everybody out there, come join the cows. You would have never experienced an event like a cycle race the way we do it.
Thank you very much, folks. If you would like to keep the conversation going with us around what's possible when a group of strangers become insanely passionate about something, why don't you follow our Facebook page? Let's Talk Possibility on Facebook, or on Twitter at LT Possibility. Thank you very much, Cordi, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.